Hello again YouTube, this is Dr. Jules Welsh, also known as As11 on the Union server of City Heroes, and we're continuing going through my villain characters on City of Heroes before the game's shut down at the end of this week, on the Saturday morning it is. And we're continuing on with the sort of section of characters that I refer to as the Dunelm Kingdom on villain side. So we've seen King Bishop, he's the leader of the group obviously. This next character is Arngar Hamaar, which is straight up Norse, as you can probably imagine. It's not far off of Angry Hammer. Yeah, this character, this particular character has probably been remade more times than any of my other characters. So I mean, Tower's been remade, King Bishop's been remade, but Arngar Hamaar has been remade, I think, a total of 3 times, which is, I think, the biggest number. Originally, had made the character. It was always a brute, but I originally had made the character. Well, what the hell was it now? I'm trying to remember now. It was War Mace Willpower brute. So it came about from. I think we were talking about Mortal Kombat. Between me and one of my City of mates, right, and I think I ended up, just as a laugh, just going in the character creator to make essentially a costume piece that, or a costume set anyway, that kind of looked like Shao Kahn, because there was enough pieces out there to somewhat make a decent looking Shao Kahn look-alike, essentially. And one of the things was the Warhammer. There was one of the Mace's options actually had a Warhammer that looked pretty much dead set for the one that you would associate with Shao Kahn, albeit that it was obviously, you know, only a one-handed wielded weapon as compared to the one that Shao Kahn uses, which is dual wielded. So I got that one to 50, and War Mace is a lot of fun actually. There's a particular power in there, crowd control, which was essentially the cone power, and that was such a sweet power. It had some massive sort of like meat to the strike and whatnot, and would pop enemies and mobs into the air. It was a very, very sweet power. So it was it was a fun little power set actually, War Mace. I was actually tempted to make a brand new character and to use it again actually, because it was a pretty good one. But when Titan Weapons got announced, I immediately said, well, I want to remake Arngar, because as much as War Mace was good, really speaking, for the character concept, I really wanted it so that you know, it was a massive weapon that he had to swing around with some force. War Mace was like one-handed, and the weapon was, you know, sized accordingly, so it might have suited a better character concept. And like I say, I was tempted to make another War Mace character at some point, but I said no. Arngar, given his concept of just being this giant meathead that just swings around a giant, you know, he needs to swing around a giant weapon essentially. So yeah, that was the reasoning for wanting to remake for Titan Weapons when I obviously heard that was coming out. I also originally tried to make it Energy Aura, the character, because I had already done so many willpower characters, and I thought I don't want to do another one because it's going to get too samey and this, that, and the other, and you know, I really should, you know, try and, you know, at least, you know, have a bit of variety, you know, rather than just simply all being bloody willpower tanks or brutes or scrappers essentially. So because it was getting, you know, it would come across too easy. So I'd actually made the character once Titan Weapon came out as Energy Aura, which is was fairly unique originally to brutes, and I think it became available to scrappers and tanks eventually. In fact, actually, definitely did, because I've got a scrapper which we'll be talking about next that is Energy Aura. And again, gone to 50, but the problem with energy aura, as you'll see in the next video, is it does actually have a stealth element to it, which suits the character I'll show you next, Bella Furia, rather than Arngar. Obviously, the idea of this character is, no, he's a giant. He's the proper definition of a brute, a bit like Tower, just basically a giant thing that's just is there to just simply dive in and just smash. That's it. That is the essence of it, anyway. So yeah, got remade again earlier this year, and went back to Willpower. At least with this one though, he was idle. I don't think I actually got very far in the Incarnate system other than maybe Tier 2 Alpha. I think possibly. But I said, right, well, I'll go Willpower because it's the only one I can thematically go for. But the IO build for Arngar is not actually for sort of like survivability and defense. It's there, but it's not really built for that. The actual build is actually built purely for recharge, so that I can make use of you know, momentum, which is the gimmick in Titan weapons, and fire off the powers a lot more often. So I think he's actually more scrapper route than he is tank route, for sure, is Arngar. So yeah, a little bit about Titan weapons itself. Obviously the giant weapon, as you can see here. I was a little disappointed we didn't actually like have an actual hammer. Essentially this sort of like energy mace is the closest thing. I did originally try the one that did look like the shape of a hammer, which just looked essentially like the I think it was like a jet engine on a stick or something. But at least it actually kind of had a hammer shape to it. But it just didn't look right at all. I think the way they've done the way they've done the animations for Titan weapons, I think they essentially had blades in mind, because there's a lot of stabbing sort of stuff. I think the mace here, I think, was probably the better one out of all of them, that looked like an actual hammer, and still look alright when obviously doing a lot of the sort of like stabbing and thrusting that it does. But the idea with Titan weapons is that without momentum, most of your powers will actually fire off very, very slowly, and in fact 2 powers are locked out entirely that you can't use unless you have momentum. With momentum, which is what you get after firing off at least 1 power, then all of your powers actually do a faster animation, as you've probably noticed, and the Arc of Destruction and Whirring Blades is available to you. So you can fire off a single power, which fires off slowly, which gives you the momentum, and then you've got a moment in time when you can fire off as many of the other powers as possible when you quickly can. But you've also got access to the big smash powers, which is the Whirring Smash and the Arc of Destruction. It's very AoE heavy, this set. It was you know, it really is good for like just getting in there and actually mowing down you know, mobs. It's probably actually you know, surpassed Super Strength as far as just AoE, because essentially Super Strength, all it had was Foot Stomp. Really, it was probably the better AoE power out of all the sets at the time. And if you could recharge it every 5 seconds like it did with Tower, but it was only 1 power in the set. Essentially, Titan weapons, there's a lot that do cover multiple enemies, and obviously the drawback is that, you know, it can be very slow going if you've got to obviously purposely aim for momentum. It helps obviously with an IO build that aims on recharge. You can fire stuff quickly. I've also got a perma hasten running as well, that helps out a lot. I think the recharge alpha is where I went actually, just for that extra recharge, for that very reason. So yes, you can mow down enemies very, very quickly. I'll probably have to fire off a second mission here, because there's still obviously a lot I want to talk about. I don't want to say that, because this is pretty much finished. There we go. We'll just head out then. So yeah, the premise of Titan weapons is had to get in the fights and then fire something off, just so that you had the momentum, and then fire off a load of powers before it went down. The build, they had a similar build up, kind of like with its combat readiness was the power it called in Street Justice, which was the build up. build momentum as it was on this one. So it was a build up like power, extra damage and whatnot, but it instantly gave you momentum, so you could fire off the sweep, which is what I used to do a lot. So yeah, the Shao Kahn influence is still there somewhat in the character design, but try to make it a little bit more original and suited to the Dunelm Kingdom theme. So yeah, Titan Weapons was another fun combat set, melee set. Although it would have been nice to, I almost did actually put in a sort of suggestion to say, well, can we have some more weapons? Can we actually like have just like giant hammers as well as just like the blades, and if necessary, alternative animations for if obviously like hammers just didn't look right with a lot of the sort of like, you know, thrusting and stabbing sort of animations. It would have been pretty cool. But there we go. I still thought it was a pretty good, decent weapon anyway. So apparently there's I'll tell you what, I might actually head to Sharka because apparently there's a Rikti raid going on. Doubt there'll be anyone there actually. I think the services are still pretty quiet, but I think I might partake in the raid while I'm still talking. Yeah, that's right. The Rikti invasions was essentially the last sort of like server-wide events going on. Yeah, it's the last sort of event going on before the game shut down. So they were pretty cool when they first came out, and then I think they just became a bit of a niche novelty, really. So because not many people really actively got involved. So if you were a badge chaser, you got involved in the Rikti invasions. But what I did like about, actually, since we're just talking about Rikti invasions, they would fire off guaranteed after someone had done the Lady Grey task force, which is essentially the story that sort of stemmed the major invasion from the Rikti forces. I always did like that task force. It was a really cool one, that one. But yeah, just waiting for them all to come in at the minute, actually. So the skies are green, you know they're coming, but can't see the ships at the moment. I think, yeah, I actually got one of the map packs, and it gave you like information as to where badges were. The green lines is the paths for the ships, so I'm not actually that far off from the paths, actually. But don't think they've just turned up just yet, have they? Huh. Unless they're just not bothering because there's nobody here. They think it's a waste of time. It is kind of tragic that it is this quiet, actually. But, oh well. Oh, was that one? Or did I just see one in the distance there? Oh, there you are. There we go. Right. So, I think the idea with yeah. So the idea of the Rikti raids were these ships would essentially be dropping bombs from from the sky. Try and take on one of those things at your peril. In beta, I remember people used to mention that they could take them down, but they decided it wasn't really something that was meant to happen for in games. So I think I know some of the American servers actually were able to put teams together that were able to take them down, because it was technically possible, but you would need a lot of people to do it. But the first part was they would drop bombs. Some bombs would be unexploded. Well, I'm being shot at by some of them now. And the idea was to obviously just wail on the bombs until the health went down, and essentially safe explosion. If the health got up to full, then essentially would give off a massive explosion and would do some serious damage to you. A lot of Vanguard merits would drop as a result as well, and then after a while the ships would stop dropping the bombs, and then you'd actually get invasion forces on the ground, actual Rikti soldiers. If you were just on your own, you would probably only just get a handful, whereas if there was mobs of people together in a particular area, then you'd usually get lots of giant mobs turn up, as well as a lot of elite bosses turning up, such as the War Riders. These all went to badges and whatnot, so probably shouldn't take on these bombs. They're too far to the sky here, getting shot by the guys anyway. So yeah, but getting back to the character anyway. So I kind of almost gave the game away when I was talking about Mythics and King Bishop. So in the alternative universe, Mythics was essentially quote unquote killed by King Bishop in that universe, but rather than essentially disposing of the body, King Bishop decided he might well make use of it somehow. So essentially, this is the alternative version of Mythics, but instead of obviously being a sorcerer and a mastermind, it's essentially just a corpse put back together for the purpose of, right, it's done, give it a giant hammer and just go out and smash. And that's pretty much it. The reason why it's called Arngar Hamaar is, like I say, it's Norse for angry hammer, and that's essentially to mock Torvamunda. So this character, the intention for this character was essentially to be the arch nemesis of Torvamunda. So Torv was obviously the guy with the big shield and always up for a fight, and Arngar was just basically just built a fight and just had a massive weapon to, basically bash Torv with, and try and knock the shield off him. So that was the intention of the character. He was Mythics in the alternative universe, so that was kind of the idea. Is if there was a confrontation between King Bishop and Mythics, so villain versus villain, then it was also a case of, well, look, this is what I did to your, to you in my world, as it were. But yeah, the idea is it was primarily just something that essentially would be thrown against Torvamunda and was a mock to him, because Torvamunda was Norse for Thunderous Protector. That's how I came up with that name. So Arngar was just Arngar Hamaar was essentially the same. Okay, King Bishop thought, I'll take the same concept, but in a mocking style. So yeah, wouldn't really do much in conversation. Literally would just be shouting Arngar, Arngar a lot. Proper, sort of cliched meathead character, so to speak. But I sometimes, some people think that it's a bit too cliched, or it doesn't feel right, but doing so, or it's detrimental, or whatever. I just work on the concept of some, that in some cases it works, that you've just got like a character that is just literally just there to smash, and that's it really. No thought, no consideration or anything like that. So I always thought it was okay concept of a character to go for. So but oh, they're not going to work, are they? Yeah, the two next to the drones to instantly kill them, so that's pretty bad. So yeah, so that was fairly impromptu when you were talking about Rikti strikes. Oh, am I going to do that before it explodes? Oh, that's a fair bit of them. I'll do this and just see how badly this ends. I might... Yeah, this might end spectacularly, or this might actually go very, very badly. Yeah, so yeah, I didn't do much with the character as far as like any lore stories or any RP or anything like that, but I did get it IO'd out, so that was pretty cool. I just didn't get any incarnate stuff going on it. It was an intention to do so. Oh, that one's gone. I think the other one, I've got a little bit of time. I might still get this one destroyed before it happens. So yeah, that's the sort of explosion you got when if you weren't able to quote-unquote defuse it, as it were. So I think the invasion forces will be coming soon. It's probably been about 10 minutes anyway. So yeah, so I didn't really get to do much with the character like lore-wise and whatnot. So again, it might be something I can make in another game. Yes, in fact, there's the invasion forces now. But other than that, yeah, it was still a fairly nice character to muck on with. Just it was nice to play like a brute that was built as a brute was intended, just to be literally a brute, dive in and whatnot. I mean, I didn't mind so much making brutes tankish, because I kind of like that, being able to do something that was tankish but it could actually do damage, unlike a tanker. For certain situations. So like I said, Impervium Tower was my favourite brute, and always was. and also the most played brute. But it was nice to be able to make a brute actually that wasn't built as the tank brute. It was like, oh, I'll go in and smash, but actually more like the scrapper, so to speak. But just to do it on a bit more grander scale than a scrapper almost. You know, just obviously just with the big meaty weapon and whatnot. So yeah, fun little set actually. Titan weapons. I did like it. Like I say, it would have been nice to have the would have been nice to have the you know, an actual hammer and whatnot. But there we go. So I think I'll just finish them off. That's there we go then. So there we go. So that was Arngar Hamaar. So stay tuned. We'll be moving on to the another Dunelm Kingdom character. So this is Jonas Walsh signing off, and I'll catch you next time. Alright, one more. I'll get him dealt with easy. Right, maybe not. They're still going to come here, so yeah. Okay, I'll see you in a bit anyway.